Hello everybody, Don Georgevich here, and welcome to 7 Days to Mastering the Art of the Interview, Module 2. This is the top 10 best interview preparation tips. Let's get started. Your hard work in sending out all those cover letters and resumes, well, it's finally paid off, and you've been called in for a face-to-face interview. Congratulations. But now is not the time to sit back and think about how you're going to spend your new salary. You've got a lot of work to do. You see, the better prepared you are beforehand, the better your chances are going to be of walking out of the interview with a confident smile on your face that says, I think I got the job. Keep in mind that in the competitive business world, there are sure to be dozens of other highly qualified candidates going after the same job that you are. So it's important to make yourself stand out as someone special. And now is the time to practice exactly how you're going to sell yourself to a prospective employer during that crucial first meeting. So in this video, we're going to cover the top 11 most important tips to help your next interview lead to your next job. You can call them tips if you want to, but what they really are is strategies. Subtle little strategies that, when implemented, will give your candidacy a boost and clearly separate you from your competition. The first one is do your homework. And what you want to do is research the company beforehand so that you can showcase that knowledge during the interview. Look them up on the web, find out who their customers are, their competition, the products they make, and any new products that they're planning to release. This is going to boost your credibility with the interviewer, and it's going to help you formulate intelligent questions to ask your interviewer. This is also going to give you good conversation topics. Employers love to talk about their company. If you start asking questions about their new products, they're probably going to fall all over themselves to tell you about them. But keep it relevant. If it's a huge company, talk about things that would be related to the division that you're applying to. You don't want to go in there acting like you know everything about them because you just read their website. Just throw out some little nuggets of info and ask a few intelligent questions, and you're going to look like a star. Let's move on to number 2. Know where you're going. Make sure to find out where the office is and how to get there. Don't just rely on your smartphone or Google Maps. Whenever I had an interview, I would always drive out to their office the day before the interview, just so I knew exactly where I was going. Now, this is easier if you're unemployed, but if you're working, it might be a little bit tougher. Ask yourself, do you know how long the trip's going to take? Do you have the name and the phone number of the person that you're going to be meeting with? Do you have this just in case you get caught in traffic and you're not going to be able to make it on time? Do you know where to park? Do you know what floor or suite that you're going to? What you want to do is save yourself some time and unnecessary stress by knowing all this stuff before heading out to your interview. Because, well, you don't want to get all worked up getting there and you're sweating profusely. And I've done this a few times. It's not pleasant, and it ends up making for an uncomfortable interview. Let's move on to number 3. Look the part. Your clothing should be neat, should be pressed and professional looking. As it can be difficult to know the culture of the office beforehand, what you want to do is err on the side of conservative. I've always tried to dress just one step above everyone else who's working there. Now, if they're business casual, I'll wear a suit or just a shirt and a tie. If they're wearing jeans, I'll just wear a shirt and tie or maybe a collared shirt. If they're wearing suits, then I'll wear a tux. No, just kidding. I just want to make sure you're paying attention here. I would wear a suit, but a better one. I don't think there are any occasions that you should be wearing jeans to your interview unless you're interviewing for an unskilled job in a manufacturing plant or something like that. However, don't be afraid to inject some personality into your look, and don't neglect the details. Make sure you have a fresh haircut. Looks clean, manicured nails. Even if the position does not require you to look good, you still want to look good in the interview, if for no other reason than to look better than your competition. Let's move on to number 4. Rehearse beforehand. Prior to your interview, prepare your answers to common questions the interviewer is likely to ask, such as, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Or, why do you want to work here? Or, why should we hire you? And the ever-popular, tell me about yourself. You might even want to conduct a mock interview with a trusted friend just for some practice, because knowing how you'll answer these questions will set the tone for the interview. teaching you how to answer these questions really isn't part of this training module. I'll work with you on questions like these and many others in different training videos. But for now, you can grab a copy of the Complete Interview Answer Guide, as it's going to show you how to answer all of these questions, and it's going to give you a few different ways to do it. I would also suggest practice giving your answers in front of a video camera, as if the camera were your interviewer. Then pretend that they asked you the question and then read your answer back to the camera, but make sure you don't use a script. Then go back and watch the video to see how you did. Look at your eyes, your mouth, and how you sound, and look for all those filler words that we talked about, like and you know and okay. And this will give you a really good idea of how you'll look and how you're going to sound in a real interview. And what you want to do is keep doing it over and over and over until you get it right. But don't be too hard on yourself, because you'll always be your own worst critic. Okay, let's move on to number 5. Secure your references. Find at least 3 key people. These can be former supervisors, colleagues, or even college instructors who are willing to serve as your professional references. And what you want to do is ask their permission beforehand and be certain that they're going to speak highly of you if they're contacted by a potential employer. Don't use friends or family unless you have no other choice. Don't use references that you can't trust. If you're not 100% certain that this person is going to give you a positive reference, then don't use them. Now, my references, they were always from people who I could trust completely. One was a colleague, one was a former supervisor, and one was a customer. Anytime my references were called by an employer, that employer would usually come back to me in a joking manner, and they would say, Don, you pay your references well, or Don, your references make you sound like you can walk on water. And you see, my references, they were from people who liked me and trusted me, and many times my references sold me to an employer. They did all the work. If an employer was ever on the fence about me, all they needed to do was call my references. My references were like a 5-star Amazon review. And once you listen to them, you'll have no doubts about me or my abilities. And usually, they're going to hire me just on my references word alone. And that's because I've always done good work for those people, my past supervisors and customers. So they have no problem giving me a solid reference. References are incredibly powerful. So you want to make sure that you have excellent references, and you won't struggle getting hired for any job, no matter where you go or what industry that you're in. Okay, let's move on to number 6, how to prepare a thank you letter. After your interview, it's a great idea to send your interviewer a thank you letter. Now, this topic is too big to cover here in this module. In fact, I've written an entire book on this subject, but let's hit the key points of sending a follow-up thank you letter. And here's a quick strategy that you can use to send out a follow-up thank you letter after your interview. The content of your letter should be direct and specific. This is not a time to ramble on. Your letter has a single purpose, and that purpose is to remind the employer of your interest in their company, and of course to thank them for their time. That really goes without saying. Number 2, you want to refer to key points of the conversation that you had with your interviewer and reference your qualifications and how you would fulfill the needs of the company. You want to connect the dots for them. Tell them that, because you have done, blank in your last job, that you can certainly do, blank for them in this job. This is going to show transferable skills about how you used to do things the old way and how you can do it for them. You're connecting the dots. Very important. Number 3, reference personal elements of your conversation and even close your letter with something like, I hope your son wins his baseball game this Saturday, or whatever you talked about in the interview. It doesn't have to be, something totally personal. It can be anything that you're connecting your letter to the conversation that you had with them in the interview. And personal notes work well, but it can really be anything. Number 4, the overall tone of your letter should definitely be professional. You don't want to go in there with a very conversational style of a thank you letter. Number 5, consider your follow-up letter as if it were part of the interview. If you're too stiff and cold, the letter may sound like a form letter. And, well, that wouldn't look good. Now, if you're too casual, you might be interpreted as not being serious enough, and that would be bad too. You can send your letter. You can send it via email or postal mail. Personally, I like email. If you want to see some samples of some really good thank you letters that I've written for customers, then pick up a copy of Perfect Thank You Letters. There should be a link off to the right side of this page. I think it costs about $39, but I'll give you a little secret on how you can get it half price. You see, when you buy the complete interview answer guide and you sign into your members area, there's a link inside your members area that will give you Perfect Thank You Letters for under $20. It's a screaming deal, so if this is something you want to get your hands on, grab it while it's on sale. It's quick and easy read, and it's got over 100 really good thank you letters in it. It's in an Adobe PDF file that you can read on your computer or iPad, copy and paste it, and just create your own letter. Okay, I think we spent too much time on number 6, so let's move on to number 7, which is etiquette. Be sure to arrive about 10 to 15 minutes before the interview, but no more than 15 minutes. Visit the restroom and check your appearance in the mirror. Announce yourself to the receptionist to let him or her know that you've arrived and that you have an appointment with Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so. Make sure that you turn off your cell phone, just like in a movie theater. Turn it off so that it doesn't ring during your meeting. You don't want that ringing while you're in the interview room. That won't look good. Now, if you're going to smoke outside at least an hour before your interview. Don't smoke in the car because it's going to smell up your clothes. And then when you walk into the interview, everyone's going to smell the smoke all over your clothes. So, like I said, if you're going to smoke, do it at least an hour before your interview so that it can get off your breath and that, that you don't smell when you go in there. Now, me personally, I always like to go to the restroom as soon as I get there, and I like to wash my hands, because it helps them stay drier and they're not so clammy when I reach out to shake my interviewer's hand. And that way my hands will just feel dry to them. Sometimes my hands are just so clammy because I'm just so nervous that I'll keep a handkerchief in my pocket, and then I'll just reach my hand into my right pocket and just kind of grasp my handkerchief, and that just keeps my hand nice and dry. That's just me. I used to get nervous too when I interviewed for jobs. It's a natural thing, so don't worry about it. All right, let's move on to number 8. Make sure you bring necessary documentation. What you want to do is make a checklist of any documents that you think you're going to need for the interview, and make sure that you have them with you in your briefcase before you leave home. These documents, they may include extra copies of your resume, a passport, driver's license, social security card, maybe even a portfolio of writing samples or any other professional work that you have. If you have various certifications from your industry, you might want to bring those so that you can verify your level of certification. If you're a recent graduate, you should also bring along your college transcripts. And you should always have copies of your references with you, just in case they ask you for them. Now, me, personally, I never volunteer my references. I always have them with me, but if they ask me for them, I will hand them out. Otherwise, I won't give them out. I just think it's too pushy otherwise. Okay, let's move on to number 9, sell yourself. The interview is your chance to shine. Now is not the time to be humble. What you want to do is develop a 25-second sales pitch that kind of sings your praises. In business, this is called an elevator speech. It's a compelling overview of, why you, what's so great about you. And it's something that you can recite in the time it takes to ride the elevator, which is usually about, 25 to 30 seconds. It should include your strengths, your abilities, and what sets you uniquely apart from other applicants, and what you're looking for, and where you're heading in your career. If you don't like the word selling, then maybe, you don't see yourself as a salesperson, or you think that salespeople are bad. Do this. Educate them about yourself. Tell them things that you have done in your past that are related to the requirements for this job. Connect the dots for them. Show them that you're qualified and why you're the right person for the job. Let them know, that because you've done blank in your last job, you can do blank in this job. You want to educate them. You don't have to sell them, but educate them on why you're the right person. And that's how you sell yourself. That's how you win. That's how you beat out your competition and win the job. And that's how people with less experience and less education will win the job over you every time. Because if you don't sell yourself or educate them about you, what can you do for them? What are you doing? Okay, let's move on to number 10. Don't neglect to ask questions. Based on your earlier research, ask how the responsibilities of the position relate to the company's goals and their plans for the future. But if you're uncomfortable asking such a powerful question, then don't. Stick with smaller questions. Interviewers are often favorably impressed by candidates who show that they are knowledgeable about the organization. But you want to ask meaningful questions. That's the key. Ask intelligent questions that will help you decide if you want to work there or not. Don't ask inane questions that don't make any sense. Ask questions that will help you qualify them. Like, why are you looking for someone? Did someone else leave? Or, what do you like about working here? Or, maybe, can you tell me more about the company culture? And is it the same across all the departments? You see, it's a two-way street. You don't have to work there. You need to interview them to see if they're a fit for you. This is really important that you have this mindset because it changes the way you interview and puts you in a stronger position. So ask intelligent questions. If you're looking for a good list of potential questions to ask, I know the Complete Interview Answer Guide has a sizable list of these types of questions. Okay, that wraps up the top 10 interview strategies, but if you know anything about me, I love to overdo things, so let's add one more to the mix. Let's go to number 11, follow-up. And I don't mean a thank you letter. Well, I do recommend that, but that's not what I mean. Find out when you can follow up is really what I'm going after. So at the end of your interview, ask them when they plan to make a hiring decision or what are the next steps. You see, this is valuable information that you could use to place a well-timed follow-up call. And once you know their time frame, say 3 weeks, then you can follow up with them in, say, 2 weeks and find out where they are in the hiring process or whether they're scheduling second interviews. You see, it's also a good idea at the end of the interview to ask them if they mind if you follow up with them in, say X amount of time. If they say, we're 3 weeks out on hiring someone, then ask if you can follow up in 2 weeks. They'll certainly say yes, and now you have their permission to call them. In fact, they might even be expecting your call. It's really powerful stuff. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, don't forget to send an email thanking the interview for his or her time and consideration, as well as relating your interest and commitment to the position. Remember to keep this in mind. Every interview is a valuable learning experience. Even if you don't get this particular job, when the next interview rolls around, you'll be that much better prepared and more at ease with the whole process. All of which really can go a long way to boosting your confidence and improving your chances of being offered the job. And that's all there is to it. Stay tuned for tomorrow's lesson. You're going to love it. You're going to love what I have to teach you tomorrow. It's titled The Toughest Question in the Interview. If you're not watching this at jobinterviewtools.com, you're probably not subscribed to receive the full program. Head on over to jobinterviewtools.com/7days and register so you can be sure that you're getting the full program. Plus, you'll even get more resources that I only share in email. It's all free, so you have nothing to worry about. Now, if you don't want to wait until you receive the next lesson in your email, you can jump to Module 3 right now. Just share this lesson on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+, using the share buttons below, and you'll automatically jump to the next lesson. And of course, I would love to hear your comments. What is happening in your interviews? Have you tried any of these strategies? Did they work for you? Please share your story with me. I'm Don Georgevich. Stay on your game. I'm here to help you succeed so you can enjoy a prosperous career and lead a lifestyle you love. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Hey, Don. I recently bought your interview tools, and it has been so helpful because I've been interviewing for several months and could not understand why I wasn't getting any offers. But after reading the interview tools, I then looked back and realized why I was blowing my interviews. So I read your tools. I went out my first interview after that with more confidence than you could possibly imagine. And then all of a sudden, interviews were happening, and I was going and feeling great, and I got it awesome. So I wanted to share this with you and others because it is so helpful, and it could cut your interview job hunting time in half if you read the tools and read them over and over again so that you really know what you're doing. And you'll have confidence and security when walking in the door, and that's what it's all about, feeling great about yourself. So I wanted to share this with you and any of your readers who are skeptical about buying your book. It was money well spent. So there you had it. Just wanted you to know. I wanted everybody else to know. I have never, ever endorsed anybody like this before, but I feel very strongly about this. I got the job of my dreams, and now I'm off to my career goals, and I owe most of it to you. So I just wanted you to know I had a part of it, too. But thanks, Dawn, and good luck.